signed new multinational contracts for Stinger missiles worth almost $700 million. So we strongly believe that by utilizing the strength of this alliance to bring allies together, there are many other examples. We can utilize the economy of scale, we can give the demand, increase the demand for long-term contracts, and by working together, we're also ensuring interoperability, which is so critical for this alliance. The reality is that the war in Ukraine has demonstrated not only that the stocks are too small, have been too small, and that the production capacity has been too little, but has also demonstrated serious gaps in our interoperability. And the most best known example is the Dutch-German brigade, where the whole idea is this brigade should be able to operate together. But the reality is that the 155 standard ammunition, which the Dutch has, cannot be used in German howitzers and vice versa. And that's the opposite of interoperability. And this is something we have to take extremely seriously as government and as industry. So we will also, part of this pledge, step up what we do to enforce, to ensure that allies actually deliver on interoperability, interchangeability of our capabilities. There are many other messages in the Defence Industrial Pledge we will agree this week, but let me mention one final one here today. And that is the need for us to work more closely with partners. That's partly Ukraine. And we are stepping up our cooperation with Ukraine. We are now taking over the lead as NATO for the provision of security assistance and training. We will have the command in Germany, 700 people there, and in some hubs in the eastern part of the alliance. We are doing that also to help to not only support, but also to invest and develop projects together, increase the capability of Ukraine to produce weapons and ammunition themselves. And again, some of you are already part of that. I met Rheinmetall, they told me about investments in Ukraine, other allies or other companies also investing in Ukraine. That's good because you bring capital and knowledge, but this is a two-way street because the Ukrainians also teach us a lot. They have combat experience and they have ingenuity that I strongly believe also actually strengthen our defense industry. So we will work more closely with the Ukrainians, and we welcome all initiatives and proposals you may have, but we will also work more closely with other partners. Part of the summit will be that we have one session where we have the heads of state and government from our 4 Asia-Pacific partners, Australia, New Zealand, Japan and South Korea. They have all advanced defense industries, and part of what we have agreed as allies will be to step up our cooperation with them also when it comes to defense industry capability developments. So this summit will be a celebration summit, but as you understand, the only way to celebrate the most successful alliance in history is to demonstrate that we are fit for purpose also for the future. NATO is the most successful alliance in history because we have been able to unite around our core task to protect and defend each other, but also because NATO has always been able to adapt and change when the world is changing. Now the world is changing, we face serious security challenges, and therefore we need to step up our cooperation, we need to invest more, and not least we need to work more closely with the defense industry. Thank you so much.
So it's a particular pleasure to be here with the latest star recruit of the Washington Nationals baseball team, Jens Stoltenberg, also known as the Secretary General of NATO. It's wonderful being with Jens yesterday at Nationals Park, watching him throw out the first pitch, but it's been even more wonderful to be side by side with the Secretary General for the last 3.5 years, in my case, watching his leadership of our alliance. We have NATO coming together for its 75th anniversary here in Washington. Of course, celebrating those 75 years, but more important, focused on today and the following days and making sure that our alliance continues to do what it's done so successfully for 75 years, which is to ensure the defense of its members. Thanks to the Secretary General and his leadership, we have an alliance that is stronger, that is larger, and that is more fit for purpose than it's been, and ready to take on the challenges of this moment. that again, doesn't just happen, it's a product of leadership. And I've seen it every single day these past 3.5 years with the Secretary General. I've also seen it with President Biden and everything he's done to lead our alliance to the place that it is today, and that will be putting a real spotlight on it over the next 3 days. Lots to be said in the coming days about the concrete achievements of this summit. I won't get ahead of those. You'll be hearing about those over the next 2.5 days. But again, suffice to say, we have an alliance that is stronger than it's been, larger than it's been, and ready to deal with the challenges of our time. Jens, again, we've said it on a number of occasions, but especially here in Washington, on this anniversary, thank you, thank you, thank you for your leadership. Finally, I would just say that one of the reasons it's so important that we celebrate this anniversary, as well as prepare the alliance for the way forward, is because of what this alliance actually means to the people of all the countries who are members of NATO. And it really boils down to this. After the Second World War, and after 2 world wars, countries came together determined that we would not see yet another global conflagration. And one of the ways that they did that was coming together in a defensive alliance, NATO, 12 countries 75 years ago. And the secret of NATO's success has been the commitment that those 12 countries made to each other, and that now 32 countries are making to each other. And that is an attack on one is an attack on all. The strongest possible deterrent to aggression, the best way to prevent war from happening in the first place, is exactly through that commitment. Because a would-be aggressor understands that if they take on one country, they've got to take on all of them. That's why 75 years later, NATO has been the most successful defensive alliance in the history of the world, but also why it remains the critical alliance going forward and why more countries have wanted to join. It's as fundamental, as basic as that. It's about preventing wars, it's about deterring conflict, it's about making our people more safe and secure so that they can go about doing everything that's necessary to build strong, resilient countries with opportunity, with progress that's shared among all their people. Yes.
Thanks so much, Secretary Blinken, dear Tony. Thank you so much for hosting me and my delegation here again. And thank you for giving me some, basic advice about baseball yesterday. It was great to throw the first pitch, but I think I should focus on politics, not on baseball in the future. It's great to be here, not least because this week is an important week for NATO. We have our 75th anniversary summit here in Washington. So thank you for hosting the summit, and thank you also for your leadership, your strong personal commitment to our alliance. This summit will be a summit where we celebrate the most successful alliance in history, but we're also going to make important decisions for the future. On deterrence and defense, on Ukraine, on partnerships in the Asia-Pacific. And of course, none of this would have been possible without the leadership of the United States, of President Biden, of you, to ensure that we have now 32 allies agreeing on all these important decisions we will take during the summit here in Washington. We will make decisions on Ukraine, and I think what we have seen over the last days demonstrates the need to step up our support for Ukraine. We have seen new Russian missile attacks against cities, against a child hospital. Many children, civilians have been killed, and it just demonstrates the brutality of Russia's war aggression against Ukraine and the importance of us supporting Ukraine in upholding the right for self-defense. We will do more together on deterrence and defense. Allies are stepping up when it comes to defense investments. 23 allies are investing more, or 2% at least, of the GDP on defense. This is twice as many as just 4 years ago. And then we will further strengthen our partnership with the Asia-Pacific partners. So this is a busy week, and it's great to be in Washington, and great to see you again, Tony.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.